Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so picture this. You're standing on a windswept cliff looking right out over the Mediterranean Sea in Malta. And right there, just kind of rising up out of the earth, is one of the absolute oldest freestanding stone structures on the entire planet. We're talking about Ħaġar Qim. It was built by this society that just vanished thousands of years ago. No names left behind, no written histories, literally just these massive, silent stones. So today, we're going to dig into this archaeological cold case and break down exactly what we know, and honestly, what we don't know, about these megalithic guardians.
To really kick off our investigation, we've got to ask one massive, kind of mind-bending question. Who on Earth built monuments older than the pyramids, right? It's a question that completely upends what we think we know about the standard timeline of human history. I mean, think about it. At a time when a lot of Europe was literally just trying to scrape by and survive the Neolithic period, this community on a tiny island was somehow organizing these incredible labor forces to build towering architectural wonders.
And the story of how we found them is just as wild. For the longest time, local farmers just assumed these were, weirdly shaped natural rocks. It wasn't until an excavation in 1839 that the site was actually unearthed from beneath all these layers of soil. In Maltese, the name Ħaġar Qim roughly translates to standing stones or worshipping stones, which right away is a massive clue. These definitely weren't just everyday shelters, they were clearly deeply revered sacred spaces.
Okay, radiocarbon dating gives us our first absolutely timeline-shattering piece of the puzzle. These massive limestone blocks, they were erected centuries, literally centuries, before Egypt's pyramids or Britain's Stonehenge. We're talking somewhere between 3600 and 3200 BCE. That makes Ħaġar Qim a truly foundational piece of human engineering. It is among the absolute earliest stone buildings ever put together by human hands.
But, long before radiocarbon dating came along to give us the hard facts, people relied on mythology. For centuries, these ruins were just so inexplicably huge that local legends popped up claiming they were the work of supernatural beings, or giants. And honestly, if you go stand next to them today, you completely get it. You can absolutely understand why a pre-industrial farming community couldn't even fathom how ordinary humans could have possibly moved these rocks.
So, let's talk about the weight, because this is a crucial number. 20 tons. That is the weight of just a single block used in this temple. To put that into perspective, that's roughly the weight of 10 standard cars. 10 cars! And we are talking about prehistoric farmers here, people who spent their days raising crops, and somehow they're moving these megaliths without wheels, without any sort of advanced machinery, and actually without a single metal tool. I mean, how on earth did they pull that off?
And it's not just the weight. The dimensions are staggering too. Some of these megaliths stand at towering 7 meters in height. That's over 22 feet tall. Just imagine trying to lift a rock the size of a 2-story house and then planting it perfectly upright into the bedrock. It requires a level of planning and just sheer communal effort that is frankly mind-blowing for that era.
Now, while it's technically unproven, the current archaeological consensus points to a really genius, highly coordinated system. The running theory goes like this. Massive wooden rollers are placed under the stones, and they use these carved stone spheres, kind of like a permanent ball bearing system, to kill the friction. Then, using thick woven ropes, hundreds of people pull in this perfect unified rhythm. So it really wasn't just brute force. It was an absolute masterclass in social organization.
But the thing is, it wasn't just about hauling big rocks around. It was about designing a complex, highly intentional space. If you walk through Ħaġar Qim today, you find these interconnected chambers built all around a central courtyard. And here is the real genius part. They deliberately mixed different materials. They used this softer limestone for all the beautiful interior carvings, and then a much harder, weather-resistant limestone for the outside structural skeleton. They were literally practicing material science 5,000 years ago.
So naturally we have to ask, why go through all this trouble? Well, the artifacts found inside point really strongly toward a deep spiritual culture, one centered around a mother goddess. But this wasn't just some abstract religion. This belief system was directly tied to the absolute essentials of their survival, things like fertility, agriculture, and the cycles of life. For these people, religion and daily survival were completely inextricably intertwined.
And the physical evidence for this is just captivating. Excavators uncovered these really distinct, large-bodied female figurines. Some of them are seated, wearing elaborate clothing, and they likely represented divine earth deities. The layout of the temple itself features these dedicated ceremonial spaces that were clearly meant for seasonal gatherings and rituals. So Ħaġar Qim wasn't just a place to worship.
It was the social glue that held their entire society together.
Which brings up another really profound question. How exactly did they track those essential cycles of life? Because if your entire survival depends on seasonal changes, you absolutely need a reliable way to know when to plant and when to harvest. So as it turns out, this place wasn't just a spiritual center, it was actually a remarkably precise scientific instrument.
Get this, the temple features a flawless alignment with the summer solstice sun. On the longest day of the year, sunlight streams through these specific, intentionally carved openings, illuminating carefully chosen spots inside the dark chambers. And there is no way that was an accident. By linking celestial events directly with their crop cycles, the people of Malta were essentially using this temple as a massive, sacred architectural calendar. It shows just an astonishing grasp of astronomy.
And the crazy part? They didn't stop with just one site. Just a short walk down the cliffside is Menasdra, which is kind of like a sister complex. But while Ħaġar Qim tracks the summer solstice, Menasdra features even more complex solar alignments. It actually tracks the equinoxes too. The fact that these are so close together proves they functioned as part of a massive shared sacred network. And maintaining that would require intense cooperation between these ancient communities.
So, we have all this evidence, right? A thriving, genius society that's mastering architecture, engineering, and astronomy. But then, right around 2500 BCE, the timeline just hits a brick wall. The great temples are suddenly abandoned. Construction ceases entirely. This incredibly vibrant culture that was moving 20-ton stones and mapping the stars just utterly vanishes from the historical record.
And because they didn't leave us any written records, their final fate is one of the most frustrating, unsolved mysteries in archaeology. Scholars are basically left chasing ghosts here. Did this island community suffer from some severe environmental collapse? Was there a shortage of resources, maybe a massive disease outbreak, or a radical shift in their religion? Or did they just pack up and migrate across the sea? We have dozens of theories, but to this day, absolutely no smoking gun.
It is such a haunting conclusion to a 5,000-year-old cold case. Today, these magnificent, silent stones remain a real testament to human determination. They represent a completely forgotten chapter in our history. And it really leaves us to wonder, what else is still waiting to be discovered beneath the soil of Malta? What other lost knowledge is just locked inside those towering stones, waiting to be unearthed? Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.